This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 604.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. Why, hello everybody, this is Adam Silvey, host of the Kitchen Sink WP podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. We have one next weekend, WordCamp Gdynia. It's in Poland, September 26th through 28th. And for all those who speak Polish, dzień dobry, jak się masz, dobry wieczór, and dobranoc. Say goodnight, I don't know. I speak a little Polish. My mom was from there. All right, so also I know when I'm in trouble, clearly. And I know the bad words. I'm not going to say those here, though. All right, moving on. Segment one in the news. Two things to talk about here. CVC strikes a deal to buy GoDaddy rival Namecheap. Yeah, Namecheap has been acquired by CVC. $1.5 billion, excuse me, I misread that. And CVC stands for, do we know what it stands for? CVC Capital Partners. Yeah, so they're buying Namecheap for $1.5 billion. That's huge. And just today I learned, when I was looking this up actually, another private equity firm bought Squarespace. Was it last year? Permira bought Squarespace for $7.2 billion. In case you missed that, by the way. I did not know that had happened. So a lot of money flying around this space. Maybe I'm in the wrong side of the business. Anyway, so there you go. Yeah, Namecheap has been purchased. So, all right, moving on. Also, NotebookLM. Notebooks can now be shared publicly via links. Google just updated that, the NotebookLM. I talked about this like probably 6 months ago, I think, about using that service to kind of consolidate and take information and make a podcast out of it, etc. So, yeah, interesting. I'll put a link in the show notes if you want to read about that, how that works. So there you go. All right, is that it in the news? Yep, that's in the news. All right, moving on. Segment two, the meat and potatoes of this week's episode. So this week, I was actually fortunate enough to sit down with, remotely, obviously, and interview Miriam Schwab. Miriam's awesome. We've met a handful of times. She didn't remember the first few times. It's okay. But we reconnected at WordCamp US last month, and I went out and reached out and invited her to be on the podcast, got her story. You can listen to that next, coming up, and then we talked another hour after the fact. Literally, she's just an amazing woman. So take a listen to the podcast interview with her. We'll come back with the tip and tool of the week. All right, here she is. Today, I am joined by Miriam Schwab. Miriam Schwab is a longtime WordPress expert with nearly 2 decades in the industry. She founded one of Israel's leading WordPress agencies before launching Static, a pioneering static and headless hosting platform that was later acquired by Elementor. Today, she's head of WordPress at Elementor, where she connects the company with the broader WordPress ecosystem. She's also a frequent speaker at WordCamps and industry events worldwide, sharing her passion and insights with the community. Welcome to the Kitchen Sink WP podcast, Miriam.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I always start interviews with, well, how I might know the person, the guest, in this case, you. And though I can't recall the first time we ever crossed paths exactly, I'm pretty sure it was at WordCamp US, one of them, when you were still running Static. Does that sound familiar? Sound right?
It could be. Yeah. My memory's not the best, but it sounds like it could be.
So as a baseline, have you been to all the WordCamp US's?
No, actually, I haven't.
Okay. Which was the first one you went to?
The first one I went to, I don't remember which came first chronologically, but it was Nashville or St. Louis. Do you remember which ones came first?
No.
There was St. Louis, then Nashville, or then Nashville and St. Louis, but those were the first ones that I went to.
Okay.
Before that, it was hard for me to get to the WordCamps in the US because I had little kids and like serious travel and time zones and exhaustion. Thing, and I really just couldn't fit into my life. And that's actually why I was really excited when they announced WordCamp Europe way back when.
Right.
I was like, oh, that's way more doable for me.
Right.
And then I started to go to global WordCamps. Then eventually I was able to come to.
Yeah. I went to all the US's except last year's in Portland. I went to this year's in Portland where we finally officially met, and I've known who you are for a long time. You're like, yeah, like you said, your memory's not that great. It's okay, but and you're currently located in Israel, correct? You're based there.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I've been here many, many years.
Yeah. So for those who don't know you, remind us how you got here, this world of WordPress. What brought you to the space?
Well, I had given birth to my fourth kid, and at the time I was working at an intellectual property firm helping with the patents. I actually edited the patents, and I was working on trademark stuff. I really liked the field of intellectual property, but after doing that for a few years, I realized a few things. One, I didn't have anywhere to grow there or develop career-wise. In order to be a patent attorney in Israel, at least you have to have a science degree, like a BSc, and I had a BA. And also, I realized that with 3 little kids and then soon to be 4 little kids because I was pregnant, I was going to need way more flexibility. Like the whole idea of showing up to an office every day at certain times, that just wasn't working for me. So those 2 kind of catalysts led me to, during my maternity leave, actually start to think about, okay, what do I want to do? Freelancing. My degree's in English literature. So at first I was like, well, I'll do content writing and I'll do Hebrew to English translation. And that is what I did. But the content that I was working on was going into websites, which was very exciting at the time. I still think websites are exciting. But at that time, it was newer. And I was like, oh, I'm much more interested in the website part of this and, how people using websites and building them and using them for marketing or promotional services or just getting the message out there. So I started to teach myself to build websites. And then I was first HTML, CSS, and that was cool. But then if you build websites for other people, which I started doing, then they want you to edit their stuff for them. And that's just annoying. I don't want to spend time adding periods and commas to your sentences. So I looked into the emerging world of CMSs. At the time, there were these big, heavy, proprietary ones that cost a lot and were not so user-friendly, but also the open source. Mm-hmm. So, started exploring the world of the open source CMSs. I found it really intriguing and exciting. And anyways, I tested them all out and fell in love with WordPress. And then that became my jam.
Interesting. And I'm curious real quick, did you learn these? I mean, you speak both English and Hebrew.
Yes.
As you said, you did translation. Did you learn web as a broad stroke? I'm curious from the perspective of being multilingual.
So no, everything I learned about web development, web building was all in English.
Okay.
Basically, Google was my teacher, and the vast majority of content was in English. But at the time, we had some leader type people in Israel in the WordPress space who were writing really great content in Hebrew as well. So I learned a lot from them, but most of it was in Hebrew. It was in English. Generally, when people are learning something professional in Israel, including in university, the classes may be given in Hebrew, but all of the textbooks and content stuff, it's all in English. You have to be able to manage with that.
Interesting. I was thinking about it in the regards to, then Static, which we'll get to in a minute. I think, if I'm not mistaken, if I go back in my catalog, I did a review on it when it first came out.
No way.
I think so. I'd have to go double check. I'm 99% sure I have done a review when it first landed. I was thinking this could be interesting. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. So That's how you got here. So then you went into, how did Static come into play?
So I started to work with WordPress, build WordPress sites. First, it was just me, doing it on a freelance basis. I was one of the first people in Israel to offer WordPress solutions for businesses, as opposed to just being for personal use. And then that developed into an agency. So I had an agency for providing WordPress services. We did a lot of work for tech companies. The tech industry in Israel is very big.
Huge.
So they need marketing, material, and they were, a lot of them were choosing WordPress at the time. So I was well positioned for those projects. And so did that for 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah. It was great. It was great because it gave me the flexibility I wanted and needed as a mom. I went on to have more kids. I have 7 kids. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So you're sitting.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So many questions on that. Different podcast.
I actually gave a talk about building my career while raising 7 kids. I think that literally was the title of the topic. The talk at WordCamp Asia in Taiwan. So FYI, that talk is out there.
I will find it and put it in the show notes for sure.
So I went on to have more kids, and so it gave me the flexibility that I wanted, but it also allowed me to develop my career professionally, my network, just so it was great. Through the years, I had ideas for products related to WordPress or digital presences, but I realized, giving birth to and raising 7 kids while managing an agency that meant my plate was more than full, and trying to also do a side thing was not going to work. It's like I tried a few times and I just couldn't give everything attention. It was not so. But when my youngest, my number 7, as we call her, I'm kidding, we don't call her number 7. We call her by her name.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's like sound off, children. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. When she was 3, I was really interested in this emerging space of static site generation. Mm-hmm. Static site generation is kind of old school because when I started building websites, it was HTML, CSS. That's static websites.
Right.
But this was a more modern, scalable approach to it. And, WordPress is a dynamic CMS, which brings with it a lot of power, but some weaknesses related to performance, right? People really fight against their WordPress sites to make them fast, particularly if you've added plugins and themes and whatever, but still servers are an issue. However good your server is, that's how fast your site is. Scalability is also related to that, and security, right? WordPress itself is quite secure, but plugins, you have to keep your eye on the ball, and it's a challenge. So I thought, wow, if we bring this world of static site generation to WordPress, you get the best of all worlds, because statically generated sites are the most resilient. They scale endlessly. They're fast everywhere. They're deployed to CDNs, to edge locations. They're fast everywhere. Security is not an issue because you actually don't have the plugins sitting there and the servers. So I was but you still get the power of the WordPress content management value, which is very strong in WordPress. So that's how I came up with the concept for Static, and I decided to work on it in a startup format or business structure. Mm-hmm. Also in Israel, surrounded by all these tech companies that start out as startups. There's a very strong startup culture here. So that's what we did. And it was me and my co-founder, and I sold my agency, developed Static. We raised funding from leading VCs around the world, including Automatic was one of our investors, and some leading hosting companies in our space. But also your standard types of VCs, like Excel and Signalfire, they invested and hit the road. And with Static, built it out, had amazing customers, proved the value of Static. And then years later, in 2022, actually, it was acquired by Elementor and then Element.
And that's my next question, actually. It's interesting. So, first of all, how long did Static itself last, or on its own?
6 or 7 years.
Okay.
It was a journey. Yeah,
for sure. And then that process of being acquired, were you looking, or did they come to you? How'd that kind of come out?
So we had started to think about it, and it was just an idea at the time. And then actually they came to us. So we were working on a partnership with Elementor. What was happening in Static, the way it works is the statically generated site, we had to recreate some dynamic functionality on the edge using serverless technologies. But we didn't want, we couldn't prioritize all that functionality. So we'd look at what's the most popular functionality that we're seeing on sites that we're hosting and deploying, and then we would work on that. So from the start of Static to the end of Static, Elementor usage among our customers was growing. Yeah. More and more sites were using Elementor, we're using their forms, things like that. Which is, by the way, interesting because our customers, Static was a high-end product, with a higher ticket price. But a lot of these larger corporations and organizations were using Elementor for their web presences, already at the time. So, because people often think of Elementor as a long tail, DIY type of tool, which it also is, but it was also and continues to be used by larger organizations. Anyway, so it was, we were seeing more and more Elementor usage. I knew the founders of Elementor, I don't know, since 2010 or 2012, I don't remember, but I was organizing WordCamps in Israel, and they were one of my first sponsors. It was, at the time, they weren't yet Elementor. They had a pre-Elementor product that was called Pojo. Okay. It was a theming, but it was already in the direction. Then that eventually they went in the direction of Elementor. But so at the time they sponsored as Pojo, and a these amazing pictures of the 3 founders standing behind a little table, little early days. So I've known them since then, and I would catch up with them all the time. And then when we started working more intensely on compatibility for Elementor in Static and on the statically generated sites, we were going to their office more often to meet with engineering teams and whatever, and to try to get their input on what we were doing. And then one of the meetings, the founders invited us to come sit with them, and I was like, oh, great. I'm always happy to catch up with them. They're great guys. And anyway, it's always good to talk to the founders when you're working on this kind of partnership. So
right.
Do it. So we went to this meeting expecting to talk about the partnership, but then that was put on the table, and we were like, oh, that was unexpected.
Yeah.
There's a funny story about that, which I will share. I don't know if I've shared it in a podcast before. So I have 7 kids, as I mentioned, and I like to expose them to my career. Especially, I have 1 son and 6 daughters, and I want my a lot of girls. We're very female oriented.
Wow.
So I like to show them my work life, show them where they maybe inspire them. Sure. They can learn a lot by, being exposed to it. So my 4th kid, she was, I think, in grade 12 at the time. And in Israel, that's the matriculation year. So you have a lot of intense tests, but in between them, you have time off. So I said to her, Sarah, I'm going to the Elementor office. Their office is really cool, and the founders are really nice. Just come and and it wasn't the first time I had taken a kid to sit in a meeting with me. I was like, it's an interesting conversation. I didn't think it was anything sensitive or private. So she came with me to the meeting. And so it wasn't just me and my co-founder in that meeting. It was also Sarah, my daughter. And then once that conversation starts, even in that way, it has to be zip it. Nobody can hear. Right. It has to be super confidential. And I was like, Sarah, you can't even tell your siblings.
That's awesome.
Your grandparents. You can't tell anyone that this is a conversation. And so 17, 18-year-old Sarah was one of the first to know.
That's hilarious.
Right?
That's brilliant. Wow. Yeah. It's that unexpected, discussion that pops up when it comes to you. It's always flattering too. It's like, hey, you built something that has value, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it was super flattering. Yeah. And we were working on the partnership. So there's that synergy already. And, Elementor users were getting value out of Static, and we were all in the same country, which is also, great. But it was like, okay, that's something we should definitely consider. And and then.
How long did that process take?
It was 3 or 4 months, which is actually fast for that type of process, but it was super intense, super. I think it might have been a bit more, but something like that. It's a very intense process. It's very stressful. Even if you're and we're friends,
and you still have to run the business while it's happening.
You have to run the business. You can't tell your team. You have to be very precise about when you tell the team.
Right.
And even if you're doing a deal with friends and everyone's on the same page and everyone has the same intentions, it's this incredibly stressful process. It's very unpleasant. When it started, someone on the Elementor team, only their senior management, knew that this was taking place. And I had been friends with him for a while. He approached me and said, Miriam, just know you're about to enter because he went through an acquisition, said you're about to enter one of the hardest, worst periods of your life. And I was like, okay, thanks for the heads up. But until you go through, you don't understand what that means. And he was right.
Yeah. So I have a question on that, because at one point you guys acquired WP2 Static.
Yes, that's right. And Leon joined our team, Leon Stafford.
Okay.
He had a great product. It kind of competed with us. It worked for him that we would do that. And then, so then we got him to join our team, and he had a lot of experience in the space, in this whole area of statically generating WordPress sites. So it just made a lot of sense. So that was, that was an interesting thing to do as well.
So you've been on both sides. You've acquired and now you've been acquired.
That's true. Yeah. I hadn't thought that way. You're right.
Yeah. So now you're at Elementor. What's your day-to-day look like? What's your role there? What's that look like?
Wow. My role is so varied. like I have certain things that are consistent. So I manage our Five for the Future contributions, always looking at how we can improve that, add more contributors to that, maintaining that. General communication with the ecosystem and the project as needed. Also for WordPress.org itself, but also people who need to integrate or make sure compatibility is okay with our product. They'll often start through me. Then I'll direct them to I act in some ways like a CX person for Elementor to the ecosystem. Like don't approach me to figure out how to fix your page building experience. That's not, but you want to get in touch with Elementor, you want to talk about something, you're trying to get our attention. I'm a good window for that. Our sponsorships for WordCamps around the world, I manage that. We increased our sponsorships this year quite a lot, and I think we're sponsoring so far like 30 WordCamps this year.
Wow!
And in addition to the flagship ones where we have a very big presence there, we fly people in from our headquarters here, but also from our team around the world. So there's that, and then there's just all sorts of things that come up along the way that need my attention, and it's always changing. I'll work on I mentioned, I'm like a CX person, but also somewhat partnerships. So because a lot of people know me and I know them, if they want to partner around something, we can discuss it and see what we can do. So it's a lot of different things.
The many hats syndrome.
So many hats, but it's fun for me because I'm that type of person. I'm all over the place, so it suits me.
I'm right there with you. Yeah. All right. A couple more questions for you. So I want to be respectful of time. If someone were to ask you about getting into WordPress these days, starting a business, contributing to the project, or management for that matter, what advice would you give?
If they're coming from a background where they don't know anything about WordPress, they really just would start by building sites. Yeah. Build sites. It's the best way. Get your hands dirty, so to speak. See what that part of the ecosystem is important. What are the plugins? What are the themes? How do you figure out which you should use? How do you find the conversations that are happening around them? How do you reach out to people in the community? That's step one, I would say. Just really familiarize yourself with the platform itself, and then if you can, go to a WordCamp. Start with one. It can be in your area. Yeah, it doesn't have to be one of the flagship ones, but really WordPress, the platform, is hand in hand with WordPress, the community, and the people. And the people are what makes it what it is and what drives it and what makes it also appealing to continue to work within this ecosystem. So, and there's nothing compares to meeting people face to face, even in this era of Zoom and Google Meet and whatever we're using. Right. All great in between.
It's not the same.
Same. And so I highly recommend trying to get to WordCamp or at least meetups. Right. And people are really friendly. So you can reach out to whoever. It doesn't matter who they are, what their status seems to be. People are happy to talk to you, to everyone.
It is always shocking to me about that. I remember that's how I got in. I mean, I went to my first WordCamp in 2012, but I've been using WordPress since 2009. Didn't know about the community side, but once I found it, as my audience knows, I've never left. I'm like, it's crazy how open and accepting it always has been. Yeah.
Yeah. Friendly. So nice. I was very grateful that I happened to fall into WordPress because that style of an ecosystem, even business style, it works for me. So I don't know how I would manage in a different business environment. We partner and collaborate with competitors.
Right.
I think it's amazing. I love that. Yes, we should work together because we have shared users, even if we're competing.
Right.
And why shouldn't we be friends? I want to be friends with everyone. So
yeah, it's just a different mentality. And I remember, do you remember the movie that came out? What was the documentary that came out with? Open. I think it was just called Open.
Oh, no.
Oh, there's a documentary out there and it was about the project. And, I remember I was interviewed for it, and the difference between going to an industry conference when I used to be more in the, in the reseller side with doing some work for Apple versus WordPress. An industry conference is that. It's industry. It's about business to business. It's sales. It's different. Whereas you go to a WordCamp, and maybe just the terminology is there, but just the community is just a totally different space. Both have their positives and negatives, but overall, I like this one better.
I like it too. It suits me more, and I'm grateful that I fell into this community, and I've got to know so many different types of people from all around the world over the years, and I've learned so much from them, and really just love hanging out with whoever I get to hang out with, and it's always really fun.
Yeah. All right. Last two questions. What are your 3 favorite tools, or what do you kind of love to use on a day-to-day basis for work or not work?
I mean, the usual ChatGPT. What can I do? I use it every day.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Oh, okay. This is a tool that I use that I love. So my position is very relationship driven, and I meet a lot of people. And like I mentioned, my memory's not the best, and sure. I always keep track. So I actually use this personal CRM tool called Dex, DEX, and it's great. Like in the past, I'd meet people and I wouldn't make the effort to make sure that I had a record of that, like of them, who they were, where did I meet them, because there's also a thing to track it. So Dex makes it really easy. You just add this Chrome extension. You can easily add a person's information from LinkedIn, like whatever you can get from LinkedIn. Then I fill it in with whatever I have. And then from that point on, I can keep track of when I met them, how I met them, what we discussed, things like that. And I also have categories, so I can be like, oh, I need to talk to someone in the hosting space, whatever, Yeah. And I remember. So that's been amazing. I'm in love with that tool. What else? The usual. I live in my calendar. Okay. I feel like I'm constantly moving things around in there and trying to make it work, but I live in my calendar, and Calendly is a big part of that. Gotcha. It's like relationship stuff. Okay. Sounds good. Awesome. Where can people find you if they want to reach out, have elemental questions, or just, come to Israel? We've hosted a few people in the community at our headquarters. We had a great time. We had Vito from Atarim. Oh yeah, I love Vito's great. He's great. So he came, we had hummus together, and then we have this music room, and he's an amazing guitarist. Yeah. And so they jammed. It was so fun. Anyways, please. So I'm on the Slacks, Post Status Slack, Make WordPress Slack, and a bunch of others. You can find me there. LinkedIn, Twitter. All the places. All the places. Yeah. Just look for Twitter, X. Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, Miriam, it's been awesome having your story shared. I want to talk to you after we're done recording about these kids. But anyway, thanks so much. And lastly, where are you going to be? What's your next WordCamp? Where are you going? Well, actually, my next event is something I've never attended, which is Domain Days in Dubai. And I've never been to Dubai, so I'm excited for that. They're having WordPress content. I'm going to be on a panel there about WordPress in the Middle East and the community. So I'm going to that. And then I went to CloudFest USA. Okay. And then I guess the next WordCamp probably is going to be WordCamp Asia in Mumbai. Oh, yeah. But that's not till April. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, how about you? I don't know. Oh, I'm going. My next conference is All Things Open here in Raleigh next month. And then after that, I don't know. Yeah, the U.S. it's changed a lot out here. As far as the communities, we don't have a WordCamp in Raleigh anymore at the moment. So we'll see. It is. There's a lot of WordCamps happening in Europe. I just have to figure out which ones I'll go to, because there's so many. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I've only been to 2 this year. I used to do 8 to 10. Wow. Yeah. So. Yeah. Good change. It is. Anyway, well, thanks again, and I'll see you around. I'll figure out a way to find you in the world, in IRL, as the kids say. Yeah, exactly. Cool. Thanks. All right, thanks. Again, thanks, Miriam. And like I said, she is just amazing. We got along really well. And I just, she's awesome. I really like her. She's good people. So, all right. Moving on, segment 3, tip and tool of the week. This week's tip, I think I saw this from Adam Warner, actually. I think he's the one who shared it. Metricool.com is a service to kind of help you, almost like a Buffer used to be, or Hootsuite. So it's called the Digital Swiss Army Knife for social media marketers. So it looks pretty cool. There's a free level and paid levels. I have no connection to them. I'm just interested in this as well for my own stuff. So check it out. Metricool, Metricool, METRICOOL.com. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but there you go. All right, so that's it for this week. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@KitchensinkWP.com, or use that speak pipe function on the website. If you want to support the show, you can do that. Become a Patreon or buy me a coffee. There's links on the website. You can also sponsor the show. There's a form you need to fill out, and I'll get right back to you. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right? Bye-bye.